Asalaamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Guys, welcome back to another episode of the Gentleman's Chat. It's been a bit of a while since we've had a podcast, really. I mean, the last happened this year, so there was no time for one. But yeah, today's podcast, I am joined with Aham. Aham, say what's up.
Asalaamualaikum.
Okay, Darwan as well. What's good?
What's good, bro? Yes.
All right, cool. So today's podcast topic is the decline of marriage between young Muslims in this generation. It is something that I have noticed happening around us, and it's something that I really wanted to talk about. So, do you guys want to start off the podcast, or should I
Sure.
start?
I'll let Arham start.
Come on,
Um, I think it's declined mainly due to culture and also other people not really looking into what marriage actually entails within Islam if you want to do it Islamically or if you're a Christian or any other religion. People don't really look into what marriage is within their own religion. They just believe whatever is being told by other people around them and by a family and make a decision upon that.
Okay, Darwan,
Right.
you wanna add to that?
I feel like it's certain cultures, some people they don't accept marry they don't accept to marry that person because it's from a different country. You know what I mean? Like there's some people that are very backwards minded these days. Like they think way in the past. They don't think about the modern times. Like modern times now have changed where, you know, people marry from different cultures as long as they're Muslim and they're a good person. That's all that matters.
Hmm, I agree with that. I agree with that. You wanna like add anything onto that, or?
Uh, I would say more along the lines of that we need to stop. So one thing I would say is probably if let's say for myself or like you or Darwan or anyone in this call or any one of our friends, right? If you want to actually get married, look into what actually is the meaning of marriage, not just to you, but Islamically as well, because we are mostly Muslim. Look into what marriage is Islamically and what actually entails within marriage because nowadays we believe that okay marriage is that we do all of these events, right? And so I've looked into it and some of these events that we do are more Hinduistic, if I would have to say. I think it's like that or some another word, but it's more cultural than actual Islamically because Islamically what entails as a marriage is a nikah, a walima, and meher. Those are the three events that you only need. Well, two are events. One is just a mandatory thing that you have to give for the woman. That's it.
Yeah, bang on, bro. Let me add my points to it. So I feel like, yeah, the reason why people in this generation avoid marriage, I'd say, is two key things. I'd say the first thing is lack of accountability. Now, what I mean by that is people are saying stuff like, "Oh, I need to get my career, in check. I need to get my life in check." But in reality, Islam doesn't really like prohibit you from getting married because you don't have a career. Like, bro, as long as you are able to provide for your wife and for yourself, you're literally fine. Like Allah tells us in Surah An-Nur, verse 32 to 33, that even for the poor, they should get married and He will establish for them. So it's like you're sitting here and you're worried about, I'm still in university, I haven't finished my degree yet, you know, uh I think that's gonna like slow me down. That's another thing. People think that getting married slows you down. Like getting married actually opens more doors of opportunities than people think. You feel what I'm saying? People think if I get married, yeah, I won't be able to get my job. I won't be able to do this. I won't be able to do that. But in reality, it's the complete opposite. You guys have anything to say about that?
No, I think that's fairly accurate.
It is true, to be honest. Like they're just worried too much about, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that. They can just get married and then, Allah will bless you. Simple as that.
Yeah, that's the thing. I feel like all of these people that are on social media are, like in a way brainwashing people into thinking that yeah, don't get married. Like live your life, like go out there and do all of this stuff, go and party, go and do drugs, go and do all sorts of stuff while, you know, forgetting about marriage. Like when it's too late, pretty much, like when you're in your 30s or whatnot, that's when you can consider marriage. So my second point, which I feel like I'm going to get a lot of controversy on, but I'm gonna say it anyway because this is my podcast, this is my program. No one tells me what to do on my program. We only say the fact and the fact. That's it. But I say the second, and I say this is probably the biggest factor, is the older generation. Now, do you guys have any idea of what I mean or what I'm gonna get into, or should I explain it?
I think the older generation of how they're backwards minded.
Hmm. Like, okay, elaborate. What do you mean by that?
Like they say, oh, don't marry that person from a different culture. Marry someone your own culture. That type of meaning.
Why do you think they go ahead to go as far as to say those kind of things?
I feel like because, they just want to they care about their reputation of their own culture, like they care about their legacy. So what they want for them is to marry someone, get them to marry someone their own culture so they can pass it on to the newer generations. That's what they really care about in their head, the older generations.
Okay,
That's
now
what
I
I
think about
believe.
it. That's not what I was thinking, but you know what? Bang on, you got a point on that. Or have you got anything to add about the older generation having a factor as to why we aren't getting married at such an age?
I don't think it's all older generations. I think it's most that have grown up in the era of, okay, so there's certain year brackets, right? That, okay, how to explain this? If you are like from a different country and you move to a different country, right? So let's say someone moved from, God, like, okay, let's say PK, right? Pakistan, they moved to UK, right? They're still gonna have the mindset of, okay, how the world works within Pakistan. So they won't have really refreshed their whole brain for how the world works in the UK now. It's not to say that, oh, the world is like totally different. There are still very much similarities in it, but in certain aspects there are a lot of changes that we need to look into. But I don't feel like it's a problem of the older generation. I think it's just the fact that they've grown up in an era that we have not grown up in. The world is ever changing if you look at it, right? So even if us lot, right, we have a certain viewpoint on a certain topic, right? But in a few years' time, the new generation that's going to come around, they're going to have a totally different viewpoint on it. And then it's going to come down to the thing that, okay, it's the old generation. I think it's more along the lines of the viewpoint of the time of era that you were growing up in and the place you were growing up in as well.
Okay, that does give me a different perspective. That I do agree with you. It is not completely the older generation that is blocking such a blessing or such things to happen. But I'll tell you what I think. So I have seen this happen between many people and heard it happen between many people. But when you have like parents or such people who say, "Oh, nah, you shouldn't get married. First, finish your education, and then you can get married." But hold on, the last time I checked, I don't think the Quran or there's any hadith that says, yeah, if you're in education, forget about marriage completely and just focus on your education. And then when you're done, you can think about it. First and foremost, let me put it out there that it's actually haram to delay marriage for no valid reason. And education is not a valid reason to stop such a blessing. Secondly, I feel like it doesn't make sense in a day and age where premarital relationships and hookup culture and zina are all normalized around us. I mean, we all go to the same uni, right? And how many people or how many times have we seen haram relationships going on around us?
That's my point I want to try and talk about. Like, there's
Mm,
too many people nowadays, they just don't want to get married because, parents telling them, "Oh, don't get married yet. Finish your education first, then get married." Then they decide to go in a haram relationship for that. What's your opinion on that, Lamin and Arham?
You wanna go?
I think that is actually what does happen a lot, and I don't think it's the fault of the people because it's what they're seeing around them, right? They're not just seeing it within the Muslim community, but they're seeing it everywhere around them on social media, everywhere. The things that we are seeing nowadays is because of the way that we've been culturally trained. If you look back into it, right, back in the days where there used to be none of that stuff in, like, let's say, Islamic countries, right? Well, there used to be, but not as much, right? They're more actual religious, but then slowly culture got into it, and other countries' ideologies got brought into our aspects, right? And it's turned it into a flip side of, okay, now we believe certain bits of what we want to believe within Islam, but then the rest of the stuff we're like, okay, yeah, we don't want to believe in that stuff. So I think it's more along the lines of what the world has become through generations of being taught by different people.
Okay, I feel what you're saying. I feel what you're saying. Well, as I was saying, right, in a day and age where zina, hookup culture, and premarital relationships are normalized, like obviously, again, like I said, we go to uni and we see it happen everywhere. So even some of the people we used to chill with would often discuss about how they have committed zina with X, Y, and Z, and how they would want to go ahead and commit zina with X, Y, and Z. So in a day and age where you're lucky or smart enough to have sense and know that, okay, I shouldn't go anywhere near them. Let me go down the halal route and go ahead and get married. And then they get shut down with, oh yeah, finish your education first. And then you know what's the funny part? When that individual ends up falling into zina, because we're human beings, right? We're not, nobody is perfect. We're gonna make mistakes. When that human being ends up falling into zina, the first person they point fingers at is the person, but in reality, they should also be pointing fingers at themselves. Because the fact that the person came up to you and told you that, listen, I want to do things the right way, I want to do things the halal way, and you just decided to shut it down for no valid reason, you're also accountable for it. Because if, let's say, you had allowed them to go ahead and get married and do things the right way, then there would be no way of this. Because they can go into a halal relationship. They can talk with whoever the person that they are interested in and all of that without worrying, oh, am I doing something wrong? They can get intimate with that person without worrying, am I doing something wrong? But the fact that you're blocking such a blessing, and at the end of the day, we are human beings. Yes, we have feelings. We are going to fall in love. We are going to feel a type of way for some people. It is completely normal. That is the way Allah designed us.
That's nature.
Exactly. This is the way Allah created us. But the real test is how you control yourself. Again, for example, for us, zina was easy to avoid. It's currently easy to avoid. But for some people, it may not be as easy. Hence why they have asked that they want to get married. But then when you've got the older generation blocking such a blessing, like it makes genuinely no sense. Do you know what I'm saying?
And obviously, there's many people, they they try and lower their gaze so hard, but it's not easy for them.
It's honestly not easy, bro. Everywhere you go, you have people who are not dressing modestly or dressing very well or wearing revealing clothes. Don't get me wrong, it is not easy. You try your best, and but it's not easy. And you got things like marriage to try and help you with that. But then the problem is, you got people again like the older generation who are blocking you from going such a way. So what would you say about that?
I feel like it's a bit ridiculous. Like, it doesn't matter about, that person who's in uni. It's about if you're mature enough and, you got enough money to, support yourself and for your spouse as well. That's the only two important things. And if you can be able to support you and your spouse, then that's all that matters. Nothing else is important other than that.
Bang on, it brings me on to another point, especially the old generation. People have got this ridiculous um what would you call this? They got this ridiculous expectation of as soon as you get married, you have to find your own house, you and your girl got to live together, blah blah blah. But nowhere in the Quran or Hadith does it say that as soon as you get married, you guys have to start living together. Bro,
That's not
in
true
this
at all.
exactly in
It's
this
not
day
true.
and age where it's hard to find a job, housing prices are so high, there is actually a way to go around it. So you can get married to somebody. So let's say I can get married to a girl. She can still live at her parents' house, and I can still live with my parents. Islam has absolutely no say, no problem about that. It doesn't say, oh yeah, as soon as you get married, nah, you gotta be like that. Islam doesn't say it. And if it does, someone tell me. Because as far as I'm aware, the last time I've been doing my studies, it hasn't said, I haven't heard or came across anything that said that. As soon as you get married, yeah, you guys got to find your own place. No, you can live separately, link up every now and then, like during the week, you go on dates, you go on sleepovers, you do your thing. But Islam does not say that as soon as you get married, yeah, you got to start living together. And again, in this day and age, in this economy, where finding a job is almost near impossible. Trying to find a cheap house or even a cheap flat that's decent is almost near impossible. Then you've got bills on top of that. You've got council
Rent.
tax, you got electricity, the rent, your gas bill, your water bill. It's almost near impossible. You feel what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying. Also, another point I wanna say is that yes, they can live separate. She can live in her parents' house, and he can live in his parents' house. But what about the girl can live in his house, like him and his parents? That's a very good idea. If they can't afford, to be fully responsible to have their own place yet.
They
That is
can, but the
also an
thing
option.
is, you also have to remember that in Islam as well, there is a there's a quote that a woman has a right to request to not have a private residency without having her in-laws or family around. That is her right to request that. And another thing about what the other points were, right? Another thing I want to add on to it is that another viewpoint of it can be that if you were meant to get, because remember in Islam, it's said that our whole lives are written, right? But we still have a little bit of control. What if it was God's intention for you to not get married then because he's wanting to see if you are mentally and also Islamically there, if your actual soul is close enough to God to where he wants you to take this path upon. Because remember, a marriage is not a small thing. It's half your deen, yes. It can seem small because like, oh, it's just marriage, you can do a lot of things, right? But you have to remember, it means the woman is starting a new life with you. You both are creating something that can bring a product of Islam into something as well. Because remember, you have kids, right? You're going to teach them about Islam as well. That's going to bring good deeds upon not just you and her, but your parents as well. So I would say look into that as well. That it could just be God's intention for you to not get married then, because He may have something other planned for you, or He may just be wanting you to wait a bit because He wants to see if you are actually ready or if you need some more time. So it can be two ways. It can be that there is a blockage, or it can be God's intention. The thing is, we will never know truly if it is God's intention or not. That's why we can't really pinpoint it into one thing. Every single thing outcome that you have in life, have an open mind of okay, if it's a blockage or if it's something that I've done myself or if it's God's intention for this to happen.
Mm. That's actually there's a bit of a simple like remedy to know. I wouldn't say remedy, but like a simple procedure to actually know if it is your time. So first of all, one thing, if it was really meant for you, Allah will make it easy for you. to get it. So if it was meant for you to get married, Allah would make it a smooth and easy slope for you to go ahead and get married. However, if it isn't easy, sometimes you will start to have doubts yourself, or you'll have to jump over a lot of things in order to get there. But the easiest way is to pray istikhara prayer. That is your final answer. Istikhara, that's where you ask Allah if, you want to get this car or you want to get married. Is it the time to get married? And from there, that you'll get signs and you will know if it is your time to get married or not. I hope if that makes sense, if that's answered your like question.
Adding on to that is where you said that if it's harder, then it's not meant to be, right? Then if you look into, right, if it's being blocked by parents, right, then maybe it's not a blockage of just parents, but it's a blockage from Allah to say that, listen, wait a bit. I'm making it difficult for a reason because I have something planned for you. So it can also, yeah, you pray istikhara, right, and it will give you signs as well. But also look into, okay, why is there a blockage, and what could I improve upon, not just myself in this actual world, but Islamically as well. Because remember, at the end of the day, we're not taking anything away from this world. We're only taking our good deeds and bad deeds away from us. When we're dead, God's gonna ask, not gonna ask, oh, how much money did you have, how many houses, how many marriages, and how many kids. He's gonna ask, okay, what's your religion? Why did you do these bad deeds? And why did you do these good deeds? He's gonna measure them out. So look into that as well. Like if you are actually Islamically ready, and why he's probably putting a barrier for you to get married right now.
Okay, well, let me ask you a question. So you know how you said it would go through with the parents, right? If it was like not meant to be. So okay, so but then why would it be an invalid reason? Again, Islamically, there has to be a valid reason as to why you can't get married. So obviously in Islam, education, no one says that education is not a reason. It's this generation that comes up. So for example, you gotta think about it like this. Education is almost like being in a job. It's almost the same, it's almost the same kind of thing. You start some if you do uni like full time, you start at 9, you finish at 5. Your typical job also starts at 9, finishes at 5, Monday to Friday. So the commitment is pretty much the same. So if I can get married and have a job, a full-time 9 to 5, how come I can't be in full-time uni and also be married? You feel what I'm saying?
There's
That
no
is true.
excuses, basically.
That's what I'm saying.
But
Well, hold on. There actually is reasons.
another
Carry on,
hidden
carry on.
meaning could be that we may be seeing the invalid bit of it, right? But there might be a valid bit that God's hidden away for you to find yourself.
That's true.
It could be within yourself, it could be within the person, it could be within your actual circle of people around you, like family. It could be anything. So you probably, what if he's put it in a hidden way for you to actually explore Islam and find out, okay, what linkage does have to me not being able to do this?
Hmm.
You know, one thing I want to say about, you know, yes, being with someone together is very nice. Yeah, it's cool and whatnot. But one thing that is scary is nazar. Like, there's people out there that can, give people nazar, and it can either go well or it can not go well. Does that make sense? So that's the scary part.
That is actually very true. Nazar is a very
Hmm.
big thing.
Big thing for that, man. That's why, like, if you are going to get married or such, you got to like, you don't post it on TikTok and all of this social media, because that's where it gets worse.
And
Don't
Another
post it
also,
out there. Yeah.
also, don't be a dayuth, because that's what's gonna, hit you with punishment. Does that make sense? Islamically,
Yeah.
like
Taha,
give
what
you
were you
nazar.
gonna say?
I was gonna say, right, actually I forgot what I was gonna say.
Well, I kind of forgot what I was gonna say as well.
Wait, what did
Oh
you
yeah,
say
we were
before? What
we were
did you
on the
say
topic
before
of
Darwan?
evil eye before Darwan.
Uh,
I was on about thingy, the what if the invalid reasons. So being in education not being a reason, and then you
No,
were
no, no.
talking
After
about
that, because we were talking about before the youth. We were talking about evil eye.
evil
Evil
eye.
eye.
That was it. Bang on. We were talking about evil eye.
Another thing is, right, you have to remember, I think this is I'm not sure on this. This is what I've read so far, but I haven't fully understood it yet. Islamically, you know how we only are meant to have a nikah, a walima, and meher, right? The
Yeah.
walima is a like a gathering of people to feed them, right? To give up food, right? What was actually the way I think I've understood it is was meant to be actually done is you go out and feed the homeless people, right? You don't
Yeah.
just feed your family, but you feed the homeless as well.
Hmm.
But now we've gotten so many of these cultures that like have gone into place, right? Like Mendi and like Valima's apparently just like family only. The meher, apparently the woman's side also have to give money for the meals and whatnot, right? I think that is also another thing that if you want to actually get married, talk to the other person and see, okay, are both of your mindsets like sort of similar or the same within Islam as well? I think that's another
Yeah.
factor that we need to look into, that if you do want to get married and you want to marry someone and you are talking to them about getting married, don't just talk about marriage as simple as just getting married, right? See, okay, talk to them Islamically. Okay, ask them what they believe in Islam and like ask them what they see in the future and how they perceive Islam going forward and how they would teach their children about Islam and whatnot, right? And see if your ideas about Islam matches with theirs. And if it does, then that's good. But if it doesn't, then you know that's another blockage that may have been caused and that may have been hidden away by Allah Himself.
Also, there's one thing I want to add to that point, and that's basically when you want to choose someone you want to marry, you know, make sure you test them, test how they are as a person, and make sure it's the right person for you before you get married to them. Because you know what it is, you're going to be with that person for the rest of your life, and you don't want to, marry someone and have regret saying, oh, I wish, it was going well, but clearly it's not because I chose the wrong person. Does that make sense? So that's what I'm saying. Make sure how they are as a person, how they treat your parents, and how they treat your family as well. Does that make sense?
And
You know what?
remember, divorce is a very big thing in Islam. That
Mm.
Prophet Muhammad himself
Sallallahu
said
alaihi
it's the
wasallam.
most hated of lawful things in Islam itself.
Mm.
So also look into that like, okay, can I truly see myself living with this person, creating a whole future with them, teaching my kids about Islam with them, and dying and saying that, yes, I was married to this person and I told my kids about Islam as well, and I've taught them this as well. If you are able to do that and you both have the same mindset of Islam and you both think you are ready,
There's
talk to
no
your
delay in
parents.
it.
Talk to your parents, but don't make it seem very small to them. Tell them that you have looked at every single bit of it. You've researched into Islam itself about marriage, and say that you are prepared for the big step that you're going to take. And if they're stopping it, then you look into, okay, how you can go about marriage without having, if it's your parents that stopping you, or if it's her parents, you look into, okay, what are the outcomes of, okay, if we do it without parents' involvement. Because remember, she needs two witnesses and you need two witnesses as well. But they don't.
She needs her dad, actually. She needs her dad most importantly.
Yes and no. She doesn't need to if the dad is firstly, if the dad is not in the picture, as in like they've gone into her parents have gone into divorce, or the dad's being abusive, or if the dad is of course dead. And there can also be other valid reasons to why the dad is not in the picture, right? If you talk to the imam and the imam says, okay, these are valid reasons, and the imam says, okay, you guys are able to get married if you prepare two witnesses, then you can.
Okay, bang on, bang on. There was two things I had wanted to say. Yeah, it was adding on to Darwan's point. Darwan was saying to make sure you find someone that you know has good character and so what. But one thing, especially in this generation, don't just look for a wife for yourself, but look for a good mother of your kids. At the end of the day, it's not just you who's going to be raising your kids by yourself. Make sure you find a good mother or a good father for your children. At the end of the day, it's going to be the two of you. You feel what I'm saying? It's not just going to be the looks that are going to be bringing your children up. It's going to be the character, the person within. Because again, they have sayings like father like son, like mother like daughter. So if you decide to be with a woman who's reckless, all she does is nag, she doesn't clean, she doesn't whatever, eventually your daughter is gonna carry on. And if you end up being with a guy, all he does is smokes, he curses, and he does all of that, ultimately you're gonna end up with sons who end up doing the same thing. For example, my dad, he was into computers. He was big into computers. He didn't force it upon me. He didn't do anything. Naturally, as I was growing up, I also developed an interest into computers. Do you feel what I'm saying? So that's another factor to put into consideration. And I forgot the second thing I was gonna say, but it's related to Aham's point. Oh yeah. I remember now. So okay, so Aham, let's say right, you're in a situation where your parents just don't want to hear your reasoning for it. You've told them, "Oh, I want to get married," and they just said no. They haven't even given you a second to explain yourself, to explain why, what's the circumstance, who have you seen, this and that. So, in such a case, what does one do in that case?
Talk to their mom. Go to your mosque. Go talk to their mom. Explain your situation to them, and they will guide you down the correct path. Because okay, another thing about Islam that I like telling people: don't just believe into what you've been taught by not just parents but other moms around you. Look into Islam yourself so you can learn the deeper meaning, because the I hate to say this, but translations can be misinterpreted at times. So it's better for you to learn it yourself, even if you don't know Arabic, right? You can slowly learn it by rereading the Quran again and again. And remember, we are meant to, I think it's read the whole Quran in a year, right, Lamin?
I think so, yeah. I'm not too sure. Don't quote me on it though, but I'm not too
I
sure.
think it is the whole Quran in 1 year. And if you keep rereading it, you will slowly learn the actual deeper meaning by just understanding Arabic itself. Yes, okay, you won't know the full meaning, but if you slowly learn Arabic in the background as well, you learn, okay, why this surah is stated like this and why it is being quoted and what is the hidden meaning, because there is a meaning of it, but then what is also the hidden meaning of it? What is the deeper meaning of, okay, let's say with just marriage, right? What is the deeper meaning of marriage? It's not as just simple as you get married, you complete half your deen. There has to be a deeper meaning of it, right?
Right.
There has to be deeper meaning to anything. Okay, deeper meaning into how we are born, right? Why we're born and why we die in a certain stage and why we will never know when we will die and how we will die, or who actually is our creator. Because the thing is, right, it's sad to say, but the way the world has become, we will never know the true meaning of, okay, what is the world it was in the past, because of how it's been changed so much, and there's been hidden stuff that's still being hidden from us, right? That's slowly being shown, but not fully. We will never know truly what is what. So if you learn through the Quran, and also if you look into it, the Quran and the Bible are very similar, because the Bible is another, I forgot the word it is. It's another, wasn't the Bible
Yeah.
another holy book of Islam itself? The not the
Not
Injil.
quite.
It's not the
Oh,
Injil, it's
okay.
something else. Uh
I know what you're like trying to say, but I'm not entirely sure
I
which
forgot the
part.
word, but it's another version of it, right? So if you read both, right, you understand the meaning of both of them. Yes, the one thing is about the Bible, it has been changed throughout time, so you won't know the actual correct version of it. but just read the one that you do find and read the Quran as well. Understand the deeper meaning and understand the deeper meaning of marriage as well. And also talk to your mom if you do want to get married and you are being stopped by parents. Talk to your mom, read the Quran, read the meaning of marriage, and read the actual requirements of marriage, not just for you but for the wife as well. If you have understood all of them and you know, okay, you can get married without your parents. So let's say if you're a male, right, you can get married without your parents there, but still have two witnesses. Then you can. You don't need. You aren't held down within Islam for having your parents' consent.
Yeah, completely right. Islamically, it's only the woman who needs a male guardian, either her dad, or if her dad's not in the picture, a brother, paternal uncle, or if she ain't got no one, pretty much an imam. And yeah, just bang on like Alham said, if you are in a position where you want to get married, but your parents are being unreasonable, and you really feel like this is one step into your into evolving yourself as a person, for a woman, going to an imam is the only option you've got, because again, you do need some sort of a male witness, a guardian, sorry, to get married. As for a man, however, it's a bit of a challenge, because you've got to think about it like this: a man does not need his parents' consent to get married. Okay, cool. But high key, if a man is still living with his parents, do you really think, like, if we're talking really strict traditional parents, do you really think the parents would be happy with the man's decision and let him stay under their roof?
That's what comes into, okay, you need to see, okay, are you then financially able to also remove yourself from your current household, rent or buy a house, right? But a house that's, it doesn't have to be big. It can be a bedroom or two-bedroom house, right? But if you're able to afford it for not just yourself but also your future wife, then go ahead as well. But if you don't have, yes, it's okay. Islam will like Allah Ta'ala will also like bring good upon you if you do get married poor, right? But you also have to remember in this day and age, you also can't survive that much. You do need to work to earn that money because the way the world is going with money. Look into also, can you survive? Because remember, you're not
Okay,
just caring for yourself, but you're caring for a person as well, another person. And
let me
food
add
and
on to what
water
you said.
and money is a big thing now.
Let me add on to what you said now. Okay, so let me ask you this. So, okay, so you said a man has to look at if he is able to actually make the decision to go ahead and, provide for himself. What if, obviously, you see, we got things like student finance, and, you got support places like YMCA that will provide you accommodation and such. So let's say if a man really, really, really wants to get married, like he is head over heels in love with this girl, right? And he really wants to get married to her. He doesn't want to commit zina. He wants to stay away from all of that, and he has someone. So with support systems like these, and he doesn't have a job yet, and he's looking to get a job, would you recommend that they go ahead with those, or would you say no, he should stay away?
I would go about it in this way. Look into, okay, first do your research into, okay, can you get the support? Because they do also have requirements, right?
Yeah.
But then also go ahead and talk to them and be like, listen, I would like to move out. Would you be able to provide support for me? And if they say yes, right? Then be like, okay, how long would it take realistically for you to be able to give me the support? Let's say it's an apartment, right? Or accommodation. How long realistically it would take for them to provide you this accommodation for you to move in, right? And also, what would be the cost of it as well? Because they won't give it to you for free, right? They will want something in return. Even with council houses, right? Like they do require rent still. They just don't require as much as a normal rented house. See, okay, if and then go to the job center and see what sort of support systems they can provide you currently and also continuing within the future as well if you need it, right? And get all of these into like a written form so okay, you have a mindset of, okay, I have these support systems in place and I can go about this pattern, and if I can do it, then do it. But if you look into it and you see, okay, you know what, there may be a slight blockage there because you know what, it may take too long for them to provide me accommodation, or it may take too long for me to find a stable income, right? Then be like, okay, what if I wait a couple of months and see how it goes? If it's still the same, then it's your choice if you want to take that risk then. But you never know. Maybe if you wait a bit, maybe something might open up for you. Before you take a big decision, just think of it, okay, what can happen if I do wait though as well? What could come around and what could go wrong? And what could also go wrong if I do take the step of getting accommodation, and let's say if you aren't in university but you go to the job center and get universal credit, right? What could go wrong with that as well?
Mm. Yeah, yeah. You have to look at the outcomes, the good and the bad of it. Makes sense. Darwan, you got something to add to it?
Well, I haven't been speaking all this time, but one thing I want to say is like, for older generation couples and now newer generation couples, because obviously from the old times to the new times, things have changed. Like right now, a lot of things are getting expensive. So, back in the days, couples would easily get a house like that. Like they could easily get a mortgage, or, in a few years' time, they'll fully pay out the house. Now it's very hard. Like you have to save tons and tons of more money in order for you to even get a deposit for the house. So I'm just saying that nowadays couples are finding it really hard if they want to live by themselves.
That's
Yeah.
the issue you face though in it. So then if either you go about risking your life, not just your life but her life, right, as well, and get married and then be in the cycle of, okay, living paycheck to paycheck or trying to save for a house, right? Or you wait it out and see what Allah has planned for you. Because we will never know truly what Allah's plans for us is. We just all we wake up every day and we should be proud of that at least. We should go about the day as we believe we are doing the way we want to do it, right? But we will never know, okay, what if we're thinking this way is because God intended for us to think this way? Like right now we're having this podcast, right? What if God intended for us to do this podcast because he wants us to reach out to other people who are in this state as well? We will never know what God has planned for us. So you'll never know if you are ready or not, truly, because what if God has made you ready? He's just delayed it. What if you have the thought of getting married because he wants you to think of getting married? What if he wants you to get married? That's why you got married. You'll never know truly what God has planned for you. You'll never truly know what you are actually doing with your own free will or what God has planned for you.
There's one question I want to add to that for all of us, right? So what's your honest opinion about, how the older generations are, my mom, my dad, and, your mom and your dad's as well, like how they lived easy back in the days, like they found it easy for them to get a house like that and, live comfortably. But nowadays for us, like if we want to follow our parents' footsteps for living comfortably and how they lived back in their days when, we're their age, it's a lot harder. Like, what's your honest opinion about it, guys?
I don't think it was easier back then as well. Because if
Yeah,
you look at
I
it
agree.
right, it may seem easier now to us because okay, the housing prices were cheaper, the food, like, supply to demand was cheaper as well. But if you look at it in their terms, right, their wages were a lot smaller than ours.
That's true.
Their
Yeah,
pay rate
that's
was a
right.
lot lower than ours. So we right now we think, okay, it's easier for them. But in true sense, right, what if it actually was a lot harder for them? We will never know. So I don't really say it's easier for them. I just think that they went through a pathway that was a lot different to what we have right now. They grew up in an era where everything seemed a lot easier than it is now. But when they were younger, they were also thinking, "Oh wow, the older generation had it a lot easier than us as well." So I think it trickles down into that we think it's easier, but it's actually not, because you have to remember the the pay rate to what they had and the
Was way
actual
lower.
saving that they made could have been a lot different.
And also,
Yeah,
like you said, think about it. The wages, the national minimum wage was a lot lower compared to now.
That is sadly true.
I agree with Arham. You gotta think about this as well. You see, we were born in Europe, right? We had it easier than our parents. You've got to think most of them, most of the older generation, ethnic wise, were from back home. So you can
Hmm.
imagine the quality of life was way worse. Was probably in a way, you could say it's a little bit better, but obviously money wise it wasn't that great. They had almost no support because most of this generation, well, the older generation, they are first generation, the ones who came to Europe first. You feel what I'm saying? So they had to go all the way from back home to here. They probably had almost no money, could speak barely any English, had people laughing at them, possibly even bullying them. So the start up to where they are now is even harder than what we have. Because if you look at it now, we luckily we're in Europe right now. You know, if we wanted to go get a job, boom, we can go. It's not easy, but we had it a tad bit easier. You feel what I'm saying?
Also, you have to remember, even if they did have a job back then, right, the actual quality of job that they had compared to what we can get now is a lot worse as well. Because if you look at it, right, most ethnic, so let's say Asians or African or other people outside of the Europe area, right, when they moved to Europe, right, the job quality that they were able to get into was mainly cleaning, housekeeping, bus driving, and that stuff, right? They weren't able to get into these high end jobs unless they had a big degree from these big universities. So, but we have the chance to do that now. We have a chance to actually get into these like Harvard, Oxford, and whatnot, right? Get into these banking roles, lawyer roles, and whatnot. It may have seemed easier in our viewpoints. It may seem easier for them, but actually grew up in a harder time compared to us. And another thing is, they may be looking at you like, if you, how to put this, your parents brought you here for a hidden reason, right? They brought you here because they wanted you to actually have a life that they never could have. They went through that suffering, right? So never say that it was easier for them. Say it more like they sacrificed everything just to give you a better life. It may not seem a good life right now because of the way how hard it is to get jobs and houses and whatnot, right? But the sacrifice they made is a lot greater than what you are making right now.
That's true.
Mm.
And also one thing as well, they worked jobs back in the days that they hated. Like they it wasn't easy for them to get like a high end job, like being an engineer or a lawyer or whatever, unless if you got a first class degree in university. A lot of these people worked in factory jobs, warehouse jobs, 12-hour shifts, making little to no little money, right? Like they put in all these hours, sacrificed everything just for us to be here where we are today and to have everything we have today.
I think that also I have a way of linking that to marriage as well and why they may be stopping you as well. If you look into it, right, they sacrificed everything for you, right? So they may be stopping you by saying that, oh, it's uni, right? But their hidden meaning is more along the lines of they don't want you to be in the same suffering as they went through. They don't want you to be living paycheck to paycheck, doing these actual low grade jobs. It's sad to say they're low grade because a lot of people still do them nowadays, and they're forced to do them. But if you look at it actually, truly, they are actually very low end jobs, and your parents could be stopping you from getting married because they don't want to see you having to do that. Even if you say that, you won't be doing that, right? They may be stopping you by saying university, but their hidden meaning could be a lot different to what you're seeing.
The thing is, there's no freedom nowadays. Like, there's parents out here, they force their children to go to uni or do whatever. They don't let their children follow their dreams and their aspirations, goals, and passions. Like, it feels like they're controlling their life, telling them, oh, go to uni, get a degree, get a good job. Oh, don't get married yet, study first. Like, this is just all ridiculous, in my opinion.
Hold on, I've got something to add here. So you see, like Arham said, they want you to, focus on uni and this and that. But the problem is, uni is just not that simple. Uni isn't, oh, you just go there, you do the work, then you come home, you do your assignments and then exams. That's it. No, uni is way harder than it seems. We like, especially when you have parents who don't understand mental health. Obviously for us, this generation in schools, mental health is a big thing. They won't waste time or hesitate skipping over mental health. Like, it's almost unheard of for a person our age or similar to not know about mental health. And if you don't have people to talk to, like, explain your struggles, to open up to, it can actually have an effect on your performance in terms of uni. Hence why I feel like marriage is also a way out for some people. For example, to have a second half to vent to about your day and about your problems. Someone who is, in your similar kind of space, in at the same circumstances you, to hear what you're saying and how they cope with it. Intimacy is also another way to cope with the stress and struggles you're going through in uni. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I get that, but then I have a question for you then. You're saying that you're trying to find someone to talk to, right? But then, because another thing is, right, you have to look into mental health as well. That a lot of the older generation actually have mental health issues that are not being diagnosed because they were never known for mental health, right? So they never had people to go talk to. They never had these doctors saying that, oh, you have these mental health issues, right? So they don't really understand that because they never saw that happen around you. They never saw that happen around them. So they will never understand the true meaning of mental health, right? So I wouldn't say blame them for the issue. I would say blame the actual hospitals that were there then because they don't understand that. They won't understand that you need their support, you need these people to talk to them because you need that help, right? Because they never had that, right? They'll never know that they actually have a deeper depression that they actually think you have as well. Because the thing is, okay, you remember, right? Your parents moved here, right? The stress that they went through can actually cause a lot of PTSD and trauma upon them. But they never were diagnosed with that. They will never get the help for that, right? But you are in the actually good generation of where you can get support of that. So I wouldn't say that it's their fault. I would say it's more along the lines of they were never around that era of mental health being a big thing. So I wouldn't say it's their fault. I would say it's actually you should be grateful for the fact that you have the support system available for you now. But they never were able to get that support system when they needed it.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. But the thing is, right, some people are not comfortable with the support systems around. For example, an example of a support system is therapy. Some people are not comfortable with going around and just telling a random stranger that, oh, I'm going through X, Y, and Z, because you don't know that person. Not everyone would be comfortable with going up to a stranger and telling them that. So they feel like one way that will help them with that is by having a second half, someone to vent to and talk to the problems about. You understand what I'm saying? As for the older generation not knowing about mental health, I can agree with you, yes, 100%. But I wouldn't just blame the hospitals, I would also blame the schools. Because again, why wasn't mental health thought about? You feel what I'm saying? They haven't been taught about mental health. But then again, they are coming from countries where, if people, like, you've got to remember, if people see someone tweaking out, like if someone was having a seizure out in the open, they might think something like, "Oh, a demon. That's a demon in them, or there was a spell casted on them." Do you understand what I'm saying? So I
Hmm.
agree with you, but I would also say we can blame the education system for failing. And probably to this day, we still have people out there, our age, in those countries who are still unaware of mental health. They might be sitting here thinking, "Oh, it's that's just how I am." They just accept it as a part of them and keep moving. But in reality, it's not. It's okay not to be okay, but obviously, it's not normal to be like this. You feel what I'm saying?
Another thing to add to that is that remember as well, not just schools, but everything around you, right? The technology, the hospitals, the government, right? They're all ever changing around your generation as well, and they'll keep changing, right? So the support system that you, if you are having difficulties with the current support system, right? Remember, just think of it in the way that you may be having difficulties with it, and if you raise your point of view upon it, right, that will help the future generation. That will help the future generation to get that support that you were not able to get as well, right? So I understand that marriage may be a path for you to actually get support, but also remember you getting married, right, just for getting support can also not be okay. There has to be uh, other reasons for it as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I get that. I get that. But I'm not saying like get married completely just so you have somebody to vent to. Blah blah blah. Obviously, that's the wrong way. But I'm saying obviously, since that's your second half, naturally you will feel inclined to involve them in your everyday life. Like that's one of the things that comes with marriage, if that makes sense. Like obviously you're with someone, you're not sharing your life. Like again, any decision that you make in your life, it doesn't just affect you, it affects both of you. For example, okay, cool, you're gonna get this job. It's overseas, it pays good money, but you will only be able to come back every 6 months. So you've got to think, okay, cool. If I take this job, I won't be able to see my other half for another 6 months. Are they going to be okay with long distance? Blah, blah, blah. It's something you got to sit down and talk about. But of course, don't just get married just for the sake of, oh, yeah, I want someone to vent my problems to. Obviously, that's something that comes with it. You feel what I'm saying? And another thing, one point that I should mention so that we can wrap things up because we're getting close to the hour mark now. Is I want you guys' opinions on this. So, in this generation, this is what I want to say, and I want to hear what you guys just think about this. This generation is more focused on the wedding ceremony itself than the marriage itself. I want you guys to talk about that.
You know
Yes.
what? I just want to say a couple things about it. I know I've touched the topic a bit about people being backwards minded. That's just one of the, it can relate to it because, like, you know, people who are backwards minded, all they care about is culture, culture, culture. They don't care about the spouses that they getting married to. Does that make sense? And, and the thing is, people nowadays, they just want big wedding halls and stuff like that. In my opinion, that I don't see a problem spending on a nice wedding hall, but not to the extent, like, don't pay like what, 20 to 30 grand just for a big wedding hall. And then on top of that, there's some people, especially in the South Asian community, they rent out lots and lots of cars, like a car that's worth £1 million, like Lamborghinis and, you know, Ferraris and McLarens, all them supercars, which is a waste of money, all for just one night. Whereas that could have all been avoided, and do something very simple. like a nikah in the mosque, or just a small wedding hall. You invite just your family. That's more than enough.
Bang on. The $5 grand that you're out here spending on your wedding to make it a luxury wedding, you could literally save that and go on a honeymoon. You could fly
Or
up to Dubai or France or something. But
or you can save that money and put a deposit down for a mortgage. It's as
Or
simple as
hey
that.
man, go to Hajj.
there you go. But
Umrah,
too, but
hello guys.
Yes.
but too bad we live in a generation where people prioritize flashing themselves and stuff to get
Over
attention.
reality.
There we go. People would rather live in the moment than live for the future. Again, like we all just said, the 5, 10 grand, 15 grand, whatever you're spending on a wedding, you could go to Hajj, you can go on a honeymoon, you can put it down on a house and all of that. But unfortunately, we live in a generation where people would rather spend for like what, 12 hours or less than 12 hours to buy houses. I mean, not houses, sorry, to get rental cars, to rent out a hall, all of that just for haram to happen. You got people free mixing, blasting music, women are dressing half naked and stuff like that. You're gonna do all of that just for 12 hours. For 12 hours. Whereas if you go to Hajj, that can benefit you for the lifetime. The
Another thing to add to that is it will also bring bad upon your marriage itself
There we
if you
go,
look
bang
into it.
on. Because if you die, bro, Allah is gonna ask you. Think about it. Every single person that has attended your wedding and has indulged in all of that haram, you get a sin for every single person that has attended that wedding. Like, especially when you have a wedding where you're bringing hundreds, if not thousands, of guests. Like, do you know how scary that is? You're gonna die with that sin of your wedding. If you died in that wedding right there, you're blasting music, boys and girls mixing together, non-Muslims mixing together. What are you gonna tell Allah, bro? When you get resurrected, what are you gonna tell him?
I think it links back to my point where if you truly want to marry someone, or if you are even thinking of just lightly getting married, right? Read the Quran, open it up, read it, talk to your mom, talk deeply about it with Allah Himself, about marriage, just about Islam itself. Learn the actual hidden meanings of everything, and you'll understand, okay, all of this stuff that you're seeing around you is actually not what God intended for being created by us. Because remember, our body is just a loan. It's like a gift from Allah. Our soul is ourselves, yes, but the body is a gift. It's just this whole world is a test for us, isn't it? It's for what we can create out of it, and also how we can teach other people about our religion. So if you know the deeper meaning of it, right, you can go around and help other people with it by not just teaching them what you've learned, but telling them, listen, I've taught you this, but look into it yourself so you know the deeper meaning as well. Because you will get more good from understanding the Quran yourself than if you hear it from other people.
Bang on, heavy on what Aham said with the read the Quran, also read Hadith as well, because especially in this day and age where people like to mix up culture and Islam, or we live in a day and age where people like to put culture over Islam heavily. If you have a question or a doubt, definitely pick up a Quran, read Hadith, go speak to Imams, because in this day and age it's dangerous, especially as well in this day and age of AI. Anyone can fabricate anything they want. Anything you hear from people or online, you see on TikTok or Instagram or whatever, definitely fact check it.
I mean, remember that knot that was going around on YouTube that was helping people sleep, but then people actually looked into it deeper,
And it had
and that had black magic
yeah,
in it.
yeah, yeah, definitely, people. When you want to do any fact check about what anything anyone's told you, definitely do research, because you never know. Especially in this day and age of innovation, where people are trying to separate Islam, saying, "Oh, Shia, Sunni, and this and that." Be
I mean,
very
did you hear
careful.
about the whole VR game that was created? I forgot which country created it, about the Medina itself and apparently having Prophet Muhammad SAW in it. I was like, nah.
I'm just hearing about this. No way.
It's a VR game. Look into it, search it. It's a whole game, and people. It's actually being created by like actual like Muslims itself, I think.
No way. I mean, as if it has his face in it, that's all. Like if they've made like an illustration of his face, that's a problem. That's a huge problem. May Allah protect us from these things. One last point I want to touch up on. I want to see what you guys think about this. What would you guys say about? Don't get me wrong, right? Girls have the right, to what's it called, to request whatever amount of mahar she wants or whatnot. What about the girls who have absolutely absurd mahars of this day and age? For example, they ask for 40k, a G wagon, and they want a house. What would you guys say about that?
I'd say these type of women, they're gold diggers straight up, because they don't care about the person and how they are as a person. They care about the money. They care about, oh, how much money you got. Give me more. Like, you know, nowadays there's some girls out here, they literally demand men just to buy their stuff, pay for their nails, for their makeup, and for literally everything. Like, we all we all know how hard it is to, grind and, get our money up and whatnot. And then there's some females out there, they're making lives harder for men, because all they care about is, you know, men providing for their woman, and, spoiling them and gifting them everything. Like, yeah, obviously it is advised that us men, we do look after and provide for their woman, but to the point where woman demands men to buy lots of gifts, and, ask for 40k meher and a G-Wagon, like Lamin said, then you have to draw a line there, because, it's not fair for the man as well.
You have to remember in Meher, right? It's a woman's right to request. Well, it's a it's mandatory for the man to give it. But another thing is, the woman cannot ask for more than the man can afford.
Bang on. That's it. Pretty much. And it's sad that we there are, in this day and age, there are actually guys who will then go out there and grind just to do that all for their girl. But the funny part is, your mom's sitting at home, still driving a 2003 Vauxhall Corsa, and you want to go out there and break your back for a girl who high key doesn't care about you and get her a 2025 G Wagon. That is absolutely absurd. All I can say is, yeah, it's a woman's right. Yeah, we have to, as men, we have to give women mahar. Like, that is part of the marriage. And women have the right to request whatever they want. But at the same time, especially in this day and age where it's hard to get a job, where prices are high and everything, girls should be considerate of their man. Like, if you really loved this man, why would you make it hard for him? Do you understand what I'm saying?
That
Why
was
would
the
you make
point I was trying to come across, by the way.
Yeah, why are you making it hard for him? Just ask for something like even a grand is okay. Because at the end of the day, what's the point of getting a G Wagon just for the price to drop? Like a house, I can understand that because houses, they just keep going up in value. So later on in life, if you guys wanted to, you can sell it and boom, you can get a lot more out of that. But if your man can't afford it, or if you know he can't afford it, then don't make it difficult for him. At the end of the day, if you make lives easier for others, Allah will make life easier for you. That's it. Bang on. Bang on. But yeah, you guys got any points you want to add on or anything you guys want to say?
No, that's about it,
Yeah,
I
that's
think.
that's all really.
Okay, so as usual, I always do this at the end of a podcast. I'm surprised I haven't forgot about this. But ultimately, right, what is the message or a message that you want to put out there for these young Muslims who are either running away from marriage or are wanting to get married, but they're stuck in some trouble?
Read the Quran.
That's it.
Read the Quran, understand it, talk to your mom.
Okay.
I would say
Da-
that.
yeah. Darwan, what would you have to say?
Um, I'd say just be resilient and stay composed and calm and trust the process and uh, do your duas and whatnot, and may Allah make it easy.
I mean, hang on. My message, I would say, is first and foremost, really and truly check yourself. Do you have what it takes to get married? Because you see, marriage isn't the same as these haram relationships. These haram relationships can last 2 months, 3 months, and they end it just like that. But with marriage, it's it's way more involved, especially as a man. The amount of responsibilities you have over your woman, and then you're gonna have children eventually. There's a lot of responsibilities. So is there a point of getting married and trying to take control, or I wouldn't say take control, take care of someone else's daughter when you can't even take care of your own self? That's one thing you gotta think about. Can you take care of yourself? Because if you can barely take care of yourself, forget about thinking another man who has been through it all in life is gonna look down on you and think, yeah, I'd want my woman to be with my daughter to be with someone who can't even take care of themselves. No way. Because
I
even me, I'm pretty
mean,
sure all of us here, if we had kids and someone wanted to come marry my daughter, and I can see the guy doesn't even wash after himself, he doesn't take care of himself, there is no way I would want my daughter to spend the rest of her life with somebody as such. So first key thing, make sure that you can take care of yourself. Are you ready? How are your prayers? Because there's no point trying to, you know get married to someone if you can't keep up with your 5 daily prayers. If your Lord is calling up to you 5 times a day, you can't even wake up for Fajr, and you're not even praying your prayers properly or on time, what makes you think you can take care of another man's daughter? God is literally calling you. He is trying to talk to you. He wants you to talk to him. You can't even talk to him. How are you going to be able to communicate well with another man's daughter? Make sure that you are in check mentally and spiritually, because don't ruin another man's daughter's life because you couldn't take care of yours. That's what I'd say. Number two, I'd say this message goes to the older generation. I will say for the older generation, be grateful that you have a kid, you have a child that actually wants to do things the halal way. Again, in this day and age, everywhere you go, school, uni, public places, zina, fornication, haram relationships, and all of these are normalized. So the fact that your kid has the sense, right, to want to go ahead and get married and do everything the halal way in a way that pleases Allah, you should be grateful. Because again, in this day and age, in this generation where zina is very easy to fall into, you can fall into it without even realizing. We go to uni, we hear about it almost every day. Someone has committed zina, someone has done this, them and them have had intimacy. Everywhere you go, even online, it's very easy to access this kind of stuff. So the fact that your child wants to do things the halal way, you should be grateful. And don't forget that Allah will question you on the day of judgment as to why you did not let your child get married. At the end of the day, it's a blessing. It completes half the deen. There is that education is not an excuse. The commitment to education is the same as the commitment of having a job. Again, if you're in education full time, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Monday to Friday, isn't a job the same? Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m.? So that means if they can't get married because they're in education, then from what I'm understanding is they can't get married because they're working as well. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Because the commitment is the same. 9 to 5, you're there, you're working, you're writing down, you're doing this and that. It's the same commitment. So if they can't get married because they're in education, then when they get married, they can't have a job. That's what I'm saying. You guys want to add anything to that, or should we wrap it up here?
One small thing. Also, research into what rights a woman has within marriage as well, because a lot of culture has taken upon marriage itself is that women don't really have any sort of right. Women can't go into education, they can't work, they have to stay at home and look after the kids and cook and clean and whatnot, right? Look into actually what the man and woman actually also require, like not required to do within a marriage, but also their actual rights within Islam. Because a woman is allowed to work if she wants to, she has a right to, but a man cannot ask for her money. Her money is her own choice of how she wants to use it. If she wants to provide it to you, she can, but if she wants to keep it to herself, she can.
Yeah, bang on. I was gonna say something and I ended up it slipped out of my mind. But yeah, I'm trying to think. But yeah, bang on with what you said. Her money is her money. You can't really have a say. Oh, I was
It's not
gonna
even
say
just money,
something.
it's everything. Like, she has a right to certain things that we have ideology on, that a woman only has to do certain things within the marriage. Look
Oh yeah,
into
I remember.
everything within a marriage and look into, okay, are you able to live how God intended you if you were married to someone? If you are able to live the way Islam is allowing you to marry someone and it's allowing you to live like that, if you're able to live like that and you would be able to allow your wife to Islamically live like that as well, then I would say get married. But if you have an issue with that, then I don't know if you are, like, if
Ready.
the our culture has taken over you or something.
Yeah. Marriage is a team sport. That's what this generation doesn't understand. People think they can go and marry someone's daughter and make her into a slave. It doesn't work like that. Marriage is a team sport. So yes, everyone has their roles and responsibilities. The primary role of a man is to go out there, make the bread, feed the family, end of the day. The woman's main role is to stay at home, take care of the kids, take care of the house, blah blah blah. However, in this generation, we have been brainwashed into thinking that no, a man, when if he's on his day off at work, his wife should do all the work and he can just sit down and chill. Bro, I'm gonna be the one to tell you that it doesn't work like that. There's nothing wrong with a man cooking. There's nothing wrong with a man cleaning. There's nothing wrong with a man taking care of the kids and such sort of stuff. If a
I
man
forgot what
wants to
the
do,
quote is in Islam, but there is a certain quote that if a man actually helps out with the cooking and looking after the kids, it actually brings a good upon not just the marriage but himself as well.
even the kids, bro, you're setting the kids, especially the male role models, you're setting them an example of this is what we should do in our lives, in our marriages. We got too many people. I've even seen it happen surprisingly young ages. Young men are seeing that their fathers are abusing their wives and this and that. And they're literally taking after them in the marriage. It doesn't work like that. Even Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he was gentle with his wives. He did not play about. He would play with them, he would help them do the housework, stuff like that. But we live in a generation where people are like, no, wives are slaves. If there's football going on and my girl's cooking and cleaning, oh no, I'm gonna go and sit down and watch the football. While the girl is multitasking. She's trying to cook, she's trying to clean, she's trying to suckle the baby, a three in one. When the man could just come, he could minimum do the cleaning or do the cooking while she takes care of the baby. In this day and age, it's dangerous. Choose your people wisely. Again, don't be selfish. Choose your people wisely. Don't choose a good woman. Don't choose a woman or a man because of how they look. Yeah, they look cool, they look nice, but that's just benefit. Like they say, it's what's on the inside that counts. A man can look handsome, but does he pray? Is he gonna treat you like a slave? How is he? Do you think he's gonna take care of the kids, or is he just gonna leave you to do it? You feel me, bro? Make sure you find someone like, okay, they don't have to be the best looking people, as long as you are attracted to them. But the main part, again, what's on the inside that counts, their character. How are they gonna bring up your kids? Are they going to treat you like a slave, or are they gonna help you out? Are they going to abuse you, or are they gonna take care of you and love you? That's my message. That's all I can think of to say. But if you guys ain't got something to say, then say it.
I don't have nothing much to say.
What about you, Alham? Or
Nope, I think I said everything.
Yeah, that's the end of the podcast, yo. But yo, Aham, Darwan, appreciate you guys for coming through. And thank you guys for watching another episode of the Gentleman's Chat, our final episode for 2020. Well, I'd say our first and last episode for 2025. We will be back in 2026, hopefully with a lot more episodes. But yeah, guys, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode. Peace.